And we're back. It's our time again. It's the Steve and Jesus show. Or hopefully maybe someday it'll get
No,
changed.
stop it. Don't even drop that, okay?
I'm just saying.
Steve
I'm
and
just saying it's
Jesus
the
show
right
for
thing to
a
do.
reason.
It's the right thing to
Because
do.
Sporting Debate knows who's important here. All right?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Last I checked, I'm the one on the page, not
I'm
you.
just saying. I'm just saying. They put me first. They put me
Listen.
first.
Listen, we got a lot to get into today. We got to talk some Colin Cowherd. We got to talk some Tom Brady mixed with some Goodell. Before we get into this debate, I got some breaking news. The New York Mets have just acquired a bat, which if you were checking sportingdebate.com, we were saying what bat should they get. They just acquired a bat. It's actually a bat that used to play for them back in the day. Mr. Carlos Gomez is going back to the Mets. In return, the Mets are sending one of their stud pitchers, Zach Wheeler.
Ooh.
Wow. That is
Oof.
a blockbuster deal because Wheeler was a guy that, if you guys remember, that was
Yeah.
a huge player that they got a couple years ago. So we'll see what
Wow.
happens. It's big. It's big. So I may be, if anything else goes down during this show, just so you guys know, I have it out. Listen, bosses, I have it out because I got work to do, man. I got to break news. It's my job. It's what I do. And it's that time of the year in baseball where there's actually some news that's going on.
Yeah, there
With
is.
that being said, let's get right to it. Steve, I know it's raring to go. Listen, we may catch a case. We may be let go, like Colin Cowherd was let go. I even though technically he was already
It
leaving,
wasn't. Yeah, he was already leaving. Exactly.
but they cut it short because they said, look, after that comment, you're done. So, Steve, I'm gonna get right to it. Colin Cowherd basically came out and said that it doesn't take much intelligence to play the sport of baseball.
Right.
And the example that he used was by saying, if you look at it, the majority of baseball players are Dominican, and Dominicans aren't really known for education. With just that being said, I'm giving you the floor. Go ahead.
As if people don't know already, my current background is I am Dominican. I am part of a Dominican family. My mother fully Dominican. My father's fully Dominican. I have still plenty of family members in Dominican Republic, most who are doctors, who are lawyers, and who are very successful business people. So when I hear a comment like
Including
that,
yourself.
when I hear a comment like that, it's really offensive. First of all, because you're categorizing the whole race as being, well, because it is well known that Dominican Republic doesn't have the best school system. You're just saying, oh, well, every one of them are dumb, but they don't. He didn't realize that there are private schools. There are people who even though they are poor, there are grants and scholarships that they do down there as well. There are things that when they come over here, baseball players, they do get educated themselves. It's not a matter of being stupid. It's about a matter of being ignorant, and not ignorant in the sense that we perceive it, but ignorant to the sense that they've never seen it in their lives before. So you can't say that every Dominican is built that way, and that's very offensive. And it just, I want to point a long list of ESPN analysts and people that have said the craziest things. And I have a list. So, and I'm a little shocked as far as is ESPN just doing little ticky-tacky punishments, but remember Rob Parker? Remember what
Oh
he
wow.
said?
Yes.
And
Cornball brother. Yeah, that's right.
okay. So
Cornbread
there's
brother.
one
Yep.
another instance where another person got out of line. How about Britt McHenry, who, if people remember, was the she blonde analyst who went into a coffee shop and basically told somebody that they were trailer trash to their face and that she should be recognized because she's a TV person. All right, that's another instance. List keeps going. Stephen A. Smith blaming, well, it should be the women's fault because they're the one who antagonized the fight. Another instance with Tony Kornheiser calling out somebody on how they dress, saying that they are a sausage casing on her upper body. And you have even Keith Olbermann, and it wasn't race particular, but or anything like that, but he started going crazy on Penn State students on a fundraiser because they went to Penn State and they were actually trying to do a good thing, and because the whole Sandusky thing went down, he ripped them apart. I mean, I just want the fans to know that, these are the people that ESPN, um, puts on their shows, and let's be honest, they're they're just doing this to them. That's it. They're saying, you get us suspended, or we'll take you off the air for a couple of days. It's a responsibility we have. When me and Jesus go back at it and forth, but at the same time, you have to be very conscious about what you say, because it's sometimes what you say is wrong. And then let's be honest. I'll turn it over to you, but that's my piece on it. What Colin did was awful. It was wrong, and I mean, they suspended him, but he was leaving anyway. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
All right. I'm not of Dominican, so my opinion doesn't matter as much as yours does, Steve, at all. Um, with that being said, there's a fine line that you have to walk and talk when you do podcasts and you do radio shows and television shows. And it's very difficult sometimes to do that, to walk that fine line, because you're supposed to give your honest opinion. You're supposed to
Right.
speak your mind. You're supposed to say how you feel, what you feel, and be allowed to do that. But my issue here is the fact that we're so quick to jump on athletes when athletes make a mistake.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I'm talking about the media. I'm
Yes.
talking about, and this is Colin Cowherd falls right into that mix. When something goes wrong with somebody and somebody says something dumb or does something dumb, they're so quick, Colin Cowherd, including himself, are so quick to jump on them. But when
Hmm.
the tables get reversed, all of a sudden, what do? How do you handle that heat? And that's my issue here. I listened to the Cowherd comment. And while I did think it was offensive, I don't think it was meant offensive. I think he did not elaborate correctly on it. He should have emphasized the school systems instead of the actual people.
Yes.
That's
And
where he
grouping
messed up.
people. Right.
Because when you group people, that's where you really sound, I don't want to say racist, but you sound as not a good person.
Yeah.
Okay? That really makes you sound like a pretty bad person. And that's where the issue was with the comment. Yes, is Dominican Republic in general, does the school system struggle in certain areas? Absolutely.
Right.
That's understandable because the country themselves financially aren't in the greatest shape. We
Right.
understand that. We know that. But there's a better way to go ahead and say that. My biggest issue, though, was the following day. The following day, he tried to defend his comments. And instead of coming out immediately and apologizing, he tried to go ahead and almost mock the people that were offended by his comments.
Yeah.
That's where the issue was. Instead of saying I was wrong, completely I was wrong and I shouldn't have said that, he basically was saying my comments were taken out of context. The same sayings that players say all the time. Oh, when I
Right.
had that interview, that was taken out of context. Well, guess what? You work for the media. You should know the tricks. You should know exactly what to say, how to say it, when to say it. I go on this show when we used to be Sport and Debate podcast, and now with the Stephen and Jesus show, and I say the most controversial things. And I
Hmm.
realize every day that I could lose my job by doing that. I
Yeah.
get that. I understand that. But my job is to be honest. My job is to talk to the fans and tell them how I honestly feel. If I come onto the show and I'm afraid to speak my mind, then I'm not going to give you a good show at
Right.
the end of the day. The difference is if I say something wrong and I shouldn't have said it, after the show, someone may bring it to my attention. I'll listen to it again, and if I was wrong, I would just flat out come and apologize for it. I'm not going to apologize after I'm suspended or after I'm told, well, you're let go. No, if it's pointed out to my attention, I will review it, and if I messed up, then I messed up.
Yeah.
That's where my issue is with Colin Cowherd here. He apologized after the fact.
Yeah.
That's
And
where you were wrong. Go ahead.
yeah. And the other thing too is, it's that there's a respect issue, is, I mean, it just how we criticize the athlete and we criticize them, and they say, we say here that, it's a privilege that they do what they do. It's the same with us. This is a privilege to be able to speak to millions of people potential. It's a privilege for us to speak our opinions, but we also have to be respectful. Just like when we were talking just last week, we were talking about, Jenner and the transition, and we were very careful. And I even apologized because, I should have been saying her, and there have been times where I was even slipping up and I said him, you know. But at the same time, I apologize. I tried to paint the full picture so my words wouldn't be construed. I tried not to say that it wasn't the importance, because it is. It's a very important event that happened. But the other event that happened was there was a person who passed away who did, in my eyes, a bigger thing because she's no longer here and she affected, a lot of people and especially her family. It's the same, even though this is different and this is in regard to a media person who's speaking to the public, he has that same privilege, and what he failed to do is he failed to, what to your point, Jesus, state that we all know that the Dominican Republic school system is not the best in certain areas. And some unprivileged kids don't get that aspect, and when they come here they must educate themselves in order to catch up to everybody else. And there have been instances it's been caught on camera. One was with and I know not many Americans know, but with Ortiz. Ortiz was on a Spanish television, and he stated that when, he was embarrassed one of the first times when he started playing with the Red Sox, he was stuck in the shower for an hour. His problem was and nobody knew what was happening, and people were getting worried, and finally another Mexican baseball player comes in and he goes, "Wait, what's wrong with you?" And Ortiz was like, "I don't know how to turn this thing on." It's not because he's stupid. That's not it. It's just because he doesn't, it's not something that they're used to. They don't have some technologies in the Dominican Republic. Obviously, Ortiz figured it out. Obviously, Ortiz is a very brilliant guy. So to say the notion and to make the correlation, my problem is with the correlation of simple, baseball, simple. Dominicans don't have good schools, simple, equals they're dumb, baseball's dumb, end of story. That's how I took it.
It takes very educated person to be able to determine pitchers, to keep up with pitcher counts, to know what batters, to break down the statistics, how this guy bats against lefties, what he batting against righties. It takes a lot more than what he made it sound like. I'm not, I don't watch everyday baseball, but I do keep up with the sport. To say you don't have to be educated to do that is just completely wrong. How would Colin feel if China was looking at us because their statistics with school systems is better than the United States, if I'm not mistaken? I don't have the exact numbers, but I know that they have an amazing school system in China, and China basically talked about how bad our school system
Yeah,
was. I'm pretty sure Colin Cowherd would catch feelings on that.
but
That's the big issue here.
not even that. Even with our own jobs. So, but what if somebody said, "Oh, I could do their jobs. I can be in the media and speak to sports and talk to sports whenever without doing any research, without doing any of the analytics behind it, without doing the proper, research
Yeah,
and development and looking into every single aspect and formulating your own opinions, and then talking to a camera correctly without slipping up with your words, which we constantly do,
yes, we
without
do.
doing, this or that, constantly looking at the camera. There's a lot of different factors. So, to say that it takes, oh, this is a really easy job, it's somebody who would say that would be, it's an ignorant statement, and he made a very, very poor statement.
And shame on ESPN for waiting until Major League Baseball made a statement complaining about the Cowherd statements to then react to it. You don't be reactive to a situation like that. You be proactive. That's what you should have been,
Absolutely.
and you were not. You were reactive only because you have a contract with the MLB and you don't want to lose that contract because that's a lot of money you'd be losing. Shame on you. Fox Sports is supposed to be getting Colin Cowherd next. Fox Sports has a contract with MLB. Curious to see how that whole situation goes forward. That's going to be very, very interesting. I know we're getting buzzed in my ear that we're going to have to move on to the next topic. We got to go to commercial. Before we do, there was one time a Colin Cowherd show I was watching and listening to where he had Harbaugh on the show. And because Harbaugh had such a horrible interview, he had to cut him off. So because of that, I'm going to do the same thing to you, Colin Cowherd. I'm going to do the exact reaction you did to Harbaugh. I'm sorry, buddy, but we're going to have to move on. You have a good one.
Sport and Debate is more than just a website or a podcast to me. It's a platform for all fans, from the diehard to the casual, to come together and embrace their love and their passion for sports. And I think that's what separates us from the rest. We love that passion, and we're ready to embrace the debate.
And we're back. Sorry. Again, I had to do it. It's the right thing to do. He go ahead and he dismissed Dominicans and their education. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dismiss you as well, Colin. That's just the right thing to do. I have to move on, though. We got another huge topic. Tom Brady, suspension upheld. Tom Brady smashing his cell phone. I mean, it was an iPhone 5. You could have sold that thing. You could have gotten some good money. And he smashed the phone. They didn't want any information getting out. Rumored. Allegedly, he's trying to defend himself, saying no, he always does this. Steve, what do you think? A suspension upheld? Was it right? Was it wrong? What do you think?
I think it was dead on. And the reason why I think it was dead on is multiple factors. I mean, the NFL has a very good valid point. The fact that he destroyed his phone right before they called him in, and I believe they sat for 11 hours discussing this. 11 hours, and all you had to do was bring your phone in there. So you had it. The fact that you destroyed your phone, you were hiding something. And I want to point on a very alarming stat that I was shown. And credit to Jesus Rodriguez on the other side. I will give you this. And credit to, I'm going to give the credit where it's due to sharpfootballanalysis.com, who did a recap on basically taking the rule that was issued in 2006, where Peyton Manning and Tom Brady asked for basically the away team to supply their own footballs, because what was happening at the time is the home team would supply all the footballs. And what happened to Peyton Manning once was a new football got into the batch late towards the game. It wasn't broken in. It was a bad pass, and it was intercepted. I don't know if many people remember the game. I'm not going to give it out there. I'll let you people do your research. But that's what happened, and it kind of kickstarted this whole campaign on the away team bringing their home footballs. Now, here's the alarming stat brought to you by Sharp Football Analysis. In 2000 to 2006, the New England Patriots touched the football 42 times before they would have a fumble, which was average. They were on point with the other NFL teams. From 2007 to 2014, it took them 74 touches before they would have a football in rain, not including games played within the dome. The analysis shown on this states that basically it's nearly impossible for that stat to happen. You are basically winning a raffle ticket of 0.000171. That's how rare that possibility can happen. That right there, compounded with Tom Brady getting rid of his cell phone, compounded with the fact that they were doing shenanigans, and this is what another thing I believe, which makes a lot of sense. If you remember the Ravens game, they were doing some crazy shifting, and Harbaugh was flipping out. You remember that, Jesus? Flipping out.
Yeah.
I honestly think that it was the Ravens who may have tipped this off, and we have to give our tip our cats to the Ravens, because I honestly think had they not done that, we would not be talking about this subject at all. This would have never happened. The fact that the Patriots did some shenanigans that game, they tipped it off to Indy like, yo, something's going on. Check those footballs. All of a sudden, we're checking footballs, and we're 2 PSI underneath the requirement. I'm sorry, Tom. You're guilty. The stats tell me you're guilty. And you know me, Jesus, I base a lot of my opinions based on stats, and that stat doesn't lie. That's not good teaching, or what everybody says, Bill Belichick teaching how to hold on to the football. No, that's a blatant, you've been cheating, and you've been getting away with it for years.
Well, first and foremost, the suspension should have stood, and it did.
It did.
Secondly, Tom Brady is being a little crybaby at the moment, okay? He was caught, but he understands his career. as far as what people think of him is on the line.
Yeah.
He was up there with Joe Montana. If this situation stands, he drops. He drops, and he doesn't want it to drop. So I understand why he's fighting. I understand. But the problem is the one thing that could have exonerated you from this whole situation, you destroyed. The one thing, it could have saved you. It could have been, you could have been done. You could have been free. But you blew it. You blew it. You ruined the one thing that could have gotten you out. For what? Because you were guilty. Because you were guilty. I'm so sorry. But where I come from, okay, you only destroy your cell phones for one of two reasons. Number one, if you're a drug dealer. And number two, if you're hiding something. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Tom. I don't think you're a drug dealer. So that leaves one other reason. You're hiding something.
Yes.
Look, I can speak on behalf of myself, and I know a lot of other athletes. I know a lot of other people. When you change your phones, you don't ever destroy your phone. A lot of times, they stay in a box somewhere. You don't even remember once you buy a new phone.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you going to say, you know what? Let me go and let me smash that phone. Here, accountant, go smash my phone for me. Why? Why? Okay, you wanted to smash the SIM card? You could have just smashed the SIM card, pull it out and smash it. But you didn't do that. Again, because there was something to hide there. Now, I want to touch on something else. Mr. Robert Kraft came out with a statement today, and he basically said that he accepted his punishment because he was hoping they would take it easier on Tom Brady, and he feels let go. He feels let down by the league. He's upset. So you were hoping for collusion in a sense. You were hoping that, you know what? Look, you take this punishment, and then we'll lighten the load on Tom Brady. Well, wait a minute. No. That's not the way things work.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't. If that would have happened, Mr. Goodell would have been in a lot more trouble than that.
Yes.
Look, Roger Goodell, no matter what he does as a commissioner, he will always have his naysayers. It happens. If you can't do anything about that, that's just the way. That's just the life of being a commissioner. No matter what movie you make, it's always wrong by some people's eyes, and then it's always right by other people's eyes. You can't win. But I think Roger Goodell, and I will probably be in the minority, Roger Goodell was probably, to me, one of the top two commissioners of all time in the NFL. And that's my honest opinion. I think he's that good because he gives you a chance to defend yourself, i.e. Michael Vick, and he gives you a chance to go ahead and do the right thing when you make a mistake. And if you lie to him, that's when he lays the hammer down. He doesn't want to lay the hammer down on people. He gives you chances, i.e. Josh Gordon, Blackman, Michael Vick. All he asks is that when you come and you talk to him, you don't lie. You say the truth. And when you lie, or you don't say the truth, or you make the same mistake again, then he has to lay the hammer down. That's what a parent does. I mean, when you were a kid, I'm pretty sure your parents did the same thing. Stop lying to me. Just tell me the truth, Steve. And if you would lie, it would be a much worse punishment than if you were honest.
Yeah,
you're still going to get punished at the end of the day, but just tell the truth. And I'm sorry, Brady, but the one thing that could have exonerated you was the thing you don't have. Now you're saying you want to take it to court. And Players Association, this is the thing that really irks me right now. The NFLPA is saying, well, this is a ridiculous system because how is he the one that's the arbitrator? He shouldn't be the one that, that listens to these hearings whenever we're appealing. So then why did you agree to those terms when you did the collective bargaining agreement? You have nobody to blame but yourself for that because you put yourself in a situation the same way you did it with the franchise tags, the same way you did it with players not having guaranteed contracts. This is your fault. We said it the other day, and I'll say it again. The NFLPA is the worst union in all of sports because they get nothing to go their way, and then they cry about it after they sign about the rules that happen. Well, you agree to these rules. You agree to them.
Right. And here's another thing, though. I do disagree with the statement that this is going to hurt his legacy. I don't think it's going to hurt his legacy. I think what it does, though, is if you're a Patriot fan, you're always in a bar. You're going to be in a bar, sports bar, talking to another fan, and the Giant fan, the Bucks fan, the Packers fan, the Steelers fan, the Chargers fan, they're all going to say it. They're going to be like, well, Spygate, Deflategate, Tom Brady, they're going to bring all that up.
But that's
they're gonna
part of his legacy now. That's always there.
I get it, but
that's his legacy.
Well, let's be honest. In the media, it's not really going to be talked about. It's not. They're going to go over the greatness of Tom Brady and all this and that. And this is going to be like at the very bottom of his summary sheet, I would call it.
Absolutely not, because you just said it yourself. whenever you discuss Tom Brady, because remember just last year we were talking about Tom Brady being up there with Joe Montana. That was an actual conversation that was
Yes.
being talked about. You're not going to hear that conversation anymore.
Oh, you will.
It's not happening.
You
No,
absolutely will.
I mean, this is if you've been watching, if you haven't been living under a rock, Steve. If you haven't been living under a rock these past few weeks, this has already been talked about how you can't even compare him to Joe Montana after this. This isn't just me saying this. This is, and I'm gonna say all the channels. This is ESPN.
But this is
This is
now.
NFL Network.
I'm talking about after this year when it's all said and
Yes,
done.
and every
This is
time
going to
somebody
be
tries to bring it
it's
up,
going to be
and
at
every
the
time
end.
somebody tries to say he's there with Joe Montana, they're always going to bring up, well, Joe Montana never had to deal with Deflategate. It's going to happen.
I hear you.
You just said it yourself. They're always going to bring it up. So
Yeah, the fan.
whether
No. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about the
even the
media. I'm
networks
talking about the fans. The fans will bring it up.
but
If
the media will bring it up as
at the
well.
draft
The media
party,
loves the juice.
I
The media
know
loves the juice.
the media does love the juice, but I don't think they're really going to bring it up. And let's be honest, it's going to be the fans when you're at the NFL draft, you're standing and you're waiting for your ticket, and you see that fan wearing a number 12, and you yourself are wearing a Giants, Eli jersey, and and you start talking football, you're going to be like, well, you guys, man, we got to take a couple away from you guys because of Deflategate, because of Spygate, because of everything else. So I don't think it's the
I'm
media.
going to compare it to this. I couldn't disagree with you more because I'm going to just compare it to just a couple of players, okay? Just last year, Jerry Rice admitted that he used Stickum. Just last year.
Right.
And now, whenever you talk, and I'm going to just use one person as an example. Multiple people bring this up, but I'm going to use one as an example. Every time you hear Chris Carter and Chris Carter talks about Jerry Rice, what does he always bring up now? Stickum. He always says he shouldn't be considered the best anymore because he used Stickum, which I think is preposterous.
No, that's
Jerry
crazy.
Rice is still the best player of all time, still wide receiver of all time, hands down. But now, because he's admitted to using it, now that's something that the media is bringing up. And whether I'm not saying that that's going to say Tom Brady's no longer a Hall of Famer. He's still a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He deserves to be a Hall of Famer. But now he's added something negative, a black eye to his career. And this is why I'm saying it's going to hurt his legacy in that sense. He's still a Hall of Famer. It's not going to be like a Pete Rose where he's not going to get in. It's not like a Barry Bonds where Barry Bonds won't.
No,
but
he'll get in.
It's going to be something. Yeah, exactly. But now it's going to be something that no matter what happens, every time you talk about Tom Brady, whether you're a fan or the media, I don't think about Spygate as much, but more Deflategate is always going to be brought up with it. He can't get away from it now, and he put himself in that situation. I don't care what he says, and listen, you Patriots fans, if you want to go ahead and you want to tweet us, go ahead, feel free. I challenge you to. You can try to defend it all you can. They can't. You can't defend it because why was the phone destroyed? That's all.
And it's not even that. It's the phone being destroyed, and it's the alarming stat. Jerry Rice. Okay, he may have used Stickum, but the man was open. The man was clearly open multiple times. You know what I mean? You can't. I'm sorry. Stickum only helps you X amount, okay? And even if you took the catches that he would have not had because of Stickum, he's still beating the record. He's still number one. So I mean, let's stop it. Deflategate.
I'm just telling you.
I know.
If it's happening to Jerry Rice, it's gonna happen to Brady.
Yeah, but I mean, nobody's gonna remember that with Jerry Rice. With Brady, I know I will remember this because I'll be honest, I hate the Patriots. I hate everything that the Patriots stand for. They win a lot, and I am a Bucs fan, and it annoys me. And you can ask multiple other people who represent other teams. Yep. They're not fans of Tom Brady or the Patriots because of all these things. So yes. This is ammunition for the fan. For the fan, we're going to remember this, and we're going to say, well, you had Deflategate. And we can bring up these stats and these numbers to prove our point. But I truly think the media loves Tom Brady. Now it looks bad because we're in the moment, but I'm trying to make you realize, go next year, 2 years from now, this will be something that like, oh yeah, they had Deflategate. Kind of like what we do with Spygate now. We remember when Spygate came out, we were saying, oh, the Patriots are done.
But
they're this, they're that.
But even with Bill Belichick, they still talk about it.
They talk about it,
years ago.
yes.
So whenever you mention Bill Belichick, Spygate gets brought up.
It does.
And this isn't just fans. This is ESPN talks about it to this day. Now, granted, they have more ammo to talk about it because they're talking about Deflategate, so they're saying, well, look, but
Exactly.
again, no matter what happens, he can't get away from it.
Do we still talk
It's
about
still there.
Bountygate?
Bountygate, yeah, well, actually, yeah, Sean Payton was. They brought it up last year with
Come
Sean
on.
Payton because of his defense last year. They were saying because he lost Greg Williams, that's why they were struggling. The
But
defense,
we don't hear it
but they
like
brought it up.
crazy. They bring it
You're
up.
not
There are
gonna hear
people
like,
bring it up, but it's
but
not
we don't
like
hear.
everywhere. That's what I'm trying to
But
say.
Steve, and we only got like 60 seconds, but we don't even bring up Barry Bonds like that. But whenever you mention the name Barry Bonds, it's mentioned steroids. Whenever you bring up Sean Payton, that's brought up, Bountygate. Whenever you bring up Bill Belichick, you bring up Spygate. And now whenever you bring up Brady, you're going to talk about Deflategate. You can't get away from it. It just happens. And again, it doesn't make these guys not Hall of Famers, but it's just something that's going to be an asterisk next to their name. It's always going to be there no matter what.
Of course.
And
Just
I
not in
guess,
the media as much.
oh, stop it. Yes, that's our show, everybody. We thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week. I will be off. We will have a special guest. You'll see who it is, Steve and someone else. But it'll still be called the Steve and Jesus Show. Don't get it twisted. That's our show, everybody. Stay safe. Be safe. We out.
All right. See you.